President, thank you very much. And I was absolutely amazed, having been here almost a year ago to the day, to travel to Berbera and see not only the port and its expansion, but the 200 kilometers of road that have been set up. And all of that has taken place in the year since we were here last. And so my question to you is that how has your government been able to short-circuit and speed up those types of development processes? Because in my country where I come from, a project like that on the road would have been talking about it for 10 years before we even got to it. And then we'd be fighting over who got the contract. And that would go to court for another 5 years. And 20 years later, we maybe would start building the road. And so it has been incredibly and deeply impressive to see the rapid scale in which the decision was made and then the implementation happened. Thank you.
Thank you very much. About the Berbera port and the corridor, these projects have came for only two issues brought all that process. That is the trust among the Somali people and all the regions to trust their government and their leadership at any time, whoever is, whichever party he came from. The main goal of all Somaliland people is to support the institution of the government. Secondly, that's all the Somalilanders, wherever he is, a nomad, an intellectual, businessman, traditional leader, women, men, they all believe that the peace is the first priority of their life, just like oxygen. So that has attracted a lot of governments and institutions to support or to trust, to invest their resources in Somaliland. Berbera project is an ideal of that two Asian pillars of our life: peace, trust among the Somaliland people, so that the United Arab Emirates, our friends, have been the courageous government who have trusted that they can invest over $500 million to Somaliland corridor and the port of Berbera. And we are expecting just next months or in the short time that a lot of governments will do the same role. And the first European country who trusted to invest our country was the UK in supporting Berbera and Corridor project. So that's the issue. And South Africa is the highest, or how can I say, the leading country in Africa, in every field, militarily, economically, and politically. So we are trying to reach them. It's our goal.
Washington, D.C. Would you please give us your perspective on the quest for international recognition for Somaliland? How are you seeing that? What is your approach right now? What kind of responses are you receiving from your visits to other capitals, both in Africa and elsewhere?
About our strategy of recognition is that we believe since ever as Somalilanders that the recognition will be achieved internally, not externally. We are not expecting that any government or any institution just they will say we will recognize Somaliland. Why for? So we believe that we should clean our home first to show every government and every institution that the people of Somaliland and their government is trustworthy to cooperate and that Somaliland as a country geographically is in a strategic, political, military, and economic position in the world. So we are sure that in the near future, a lot of countries will be convinced to recognize Somaliland, and we will cooperate. That's our policy to seek for the recognition.
Listening to your speech are not us here. They are in Mogadishu and south-central Somalia, and perhaps also in the Somali region of Ethiopia. So my question is, have you been able to invite fellow Somalis from these places with much less successful records to see what you are doing in Somaliland and encourage them to learn for the sake of their own countries? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our youth, our intellectuals, our youth, and traditional leaders, we are all the time trying to be a model for all African countries, not the Somalis only, not only the Horn of Africa. Our main vision is to be a role model to most of African countries, politically, economically, culturally, and in the way peace of life. Thank you very much.
It's very inspiring listening to you. It sounds like a fairy tale. Now, I am wondering, Mr. President, it is typical for African revolutionary or liberational leaders or groups to stay in power for eternity, even when they promised initially to stay in power for a brief interim process. I'll give an example, for example, Mr. President. Where I come from in Uganda, the NRM government under General Museveni promised to stay in power for only 4 years. And since 1986, it has been one president. Now, to see that since 1991, Somaliland has had 5 presidents, has had constant peaceful transfer of power from one leader to another. I want to know, what is the magic, Mr. President?
The day Uganda president entered the capital of Kampala, we were in the bush. It was 1985. We were in a village called Daror, which is near Awari, in the Ethiopian zone. As the leaders of SNM, our principles were first that we are struggling for liberation against the tyrant, and we liberating the people to decide their future and to manage their life? Or are we liberating the people that we should be the leaders and we will be the designers of their future? In every conference in SNM, from the day one, it was been declared in London, and all the sub-meetings in Mogadishu, in Hargeisa, the core question was, why are we starting liberation? Why are we fighting for? So, first decision was, even in the struggle time, the leaders and decision makers will be civilians, and the leadership of struggle will be on a civilian leadership. And SNM was that, the only liberation front which was led by a civilian leadership. All the military officers, including me, we were the commanders of the army. Second, all we have been experiencing, the heroes of Africa, who liberated Africa since 1960. Every leader, they were really heroes to Africa, who started after the Second World War to liberate Africa. Say, Kwame Nkrumah, Mugabe, the last, Sekatu, and so on and so on. Everyone have stayed for a long time in the power, and the people revolted against them. Why? A leader of a liberation front, when he liberates the country is a dire need economically, culturally, militarily. So he cannot continue in that situation by himself. We need at that time, after the liberation, an experienced intellectuals, civilians, who can lead this situation, the people, to develop. That's why we call it our experienced intellectuals and leaders and civilians at that time. See our leaders. The first president, Abdurrahman Ahmed Ali, he was one of the best academicians in his time, and he was the last ambassador of Ziad Barre in Abu Dhabi, a diplomat for 20 years experience. Then we call it laga. He was the first prime minister of Somaliland in 1960, who made and who was the leader of the union in 1960. The second was on Riyad Kahin. Why we elected him? Because he was the opposite side. He was an intelligent officer in Ziad Barre, just to make the test of the people of Somaliland that we share the government, the liberators and those who was with Ziad Barre. That's how we succeeded in our government. Thank you.
Somewhat to the issue of recognition and dialogue. The international community, while supportive of Somaliland, continues to insist that Somaliland and Somalia should negotiate their future relations. Now, when that commitment was secured in 2012 in the UK with the entire international community present, the commitment that was made to Somaliland was that negotiations would not prejudice Somaliland's claims to independence. The same conference led to the recognition of a government in Mogadishu and its claims of sovereignty over Somaliland. Since then, if I'm not mistaken, there have been 9 rounds of talks between Hargeisa and Mogadishu. And as far as I can tell, there has been no progress. Now there's a new government in Mogadishu. An envoy has been named for this dialogue. And again, the pressure will come for another round of talks. I would be grateful for your thoughts about the value of this dialogue and where it is headed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matt. I think the only solution, the only procedure we can solve this problem is through dialogue. Now, the new president of Somalia, Hassan Sheikh, he has the experience of our previous conferences in London, in Accra, and so forth, in Djibouti. And we have the files and the records. Hassan Sheikh Sharif, I have not seen official that he has nominated, but I heard that's through the media. But if it's true, he has also the experience. And we are the same. Most of the people who are going to the table are the same people. We met in Ankara, we met in Abu Dhabi, we met in Djibouti. So he knows our attitude and our decisions, even our words, what we will put on the table. And we know his words and what he will put on the table. So we will continue the negotiation with 2 new options. There should be a facilitators, international forum, who can negotiate, who will be the leading the negotiations. It should be internationalized. Second, we have a problem in Mogadishu and in Hargeisa, both of us. Sheikh Hassan, Farmajo, and so forth, Abdullah Yusuf, when he was elected, he was sworn on his religion, the Muslim, that he will pursue the unity of Somalia, including Somaliland. That is constitution. And every Somaliland president, including me, the previous presidents, the coming presidents, he will be sworn on the independence of Somaliland. That issue is international. Everybody knows. Unless they change their constitution, or unless Somaliland changes it, that negotiator will not be a productive. And let me tell you the truth. The people of Somaliland, 75% of the population is under 30 years of age. Only 10 or 12% is over 68 in Somaliland population. The people of Somaliland today and those of in Somalia is the same. They never know and they never understand the unity of Somalia and Somaliland. They cannot even be conceptualized. They don't know what it was. So, the elders, including me, will soon vanish from the scene of politics. So it's an international responsibility. An international of Somalia and Somaliland to face the reality. 30 years of separation, 31 years of separation. A person who was 10 years at that time, he's 41. He's a father. He's a father or a mom. You cannot explain him, Mogadishu, the administration, Siad Barre, the unity. You cannot explain it. That's a matter of history, just like a Greek history. So, it's the responsibility of the Somalia leaders in Mogadishu and Somalilanders to face the reality that Mogadishu and Hargeisa has been separated by nature today. It's impractical to negotiate about the unity. That's how we see it. And it's practical.